Is that okay? Do I have to put the starting soon?
Well, is it? Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it's too late.
I think it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, let me see. Oh, there's a clip here.
Oh, someone made a clip?
I guess.
Voluntary response. Already having decided not to answer. My neighbor giggled in embarrassment. Looking at
I don't know.
I don't remember that part. Broomstick.
What's that? Ooh.
That apparently. I need to. Yeah, one of the things I want to do is like.
What's up, poopy poop fart?
Oh, nice name.
Yo. Who's that? Did they come yesterday?
I've seen them before.
What were you gonna tell me? You were gonna tell me something.
What is it?
It was something private.
No, it wasn't. Lies. Thank you. Thank you. Good stuff, mate. So hello to my...
What did I do? Okay.
Note to self, don't swivel the mic too much. Hello. And welcome to today's stream. How's it sound, Ryan? What do you think?
Yeah.
I think it sounds pretty good.
I think it sounds pretty good. My voice is okay. I'm just worried like my microphone might be picking up too much.
It doesn't sound loud to me at all in my headphones.
Okay.
But the audience can be the judge of that. I like it. Thank you. Thank you, poopy poop fart. Hold up, I'll get the homies right quick. I like dogs. 12-14. Alright. Come. Bring the homies on over. I saw Guido today. He said he was gonna pop by.
Oh, really cool. Yes, I saw Andre today.
I see him every once in a while.
Yeah, we're gonna have a coffee on Tuesday.
Oh, really?
Just to catch up.
That sounds nice. What is that supposed to mean? What is what's supposed to mean?
No, I've been talking insider stuff.
Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow, poopy poop fart. I think that's who it is.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, he's getting the homies.
Okay.
He's gonna come round up everybody and bring him on over here to enjoy some Twilight.
Hey, homos. Twilight's on.
All the homies like Twilight, we know that. Hello, Mari from Brazil. I love it when Brazil joins the chat. It's always a good time. So today we will be continuing with our reading of Twilight, the first book in the series. Yesterday we read chapter 1, gave everybody who's not familiar with Twilight an introduction to all the characters. Today I learned from Reddit that chapter 13 is everybody's favorite, so that's where we'll be resuming today. And in case you're late to the party, the background is where the book takes place. It's La Bush in Forks, Washington. So I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it. Chapter 13, Confessions. Edward in the sunlight was shocking. I couldn't get used to it, though I'd been staring at him all afternoon. His skin, white, despite the faint flush from yesterday's hunting trip, literally sparkled. Like thousands of tiny diamonds were embedded in his surface. He lay perfectly still in the grass, his shirt open over his sculpted, incandescent chest. Hi, spicy hot dogs. Welcome to my channel. Yes, this is meant to be a romance novel, but I see the humor in it, and it's okay if you do too. Laughing is encouraged. His scintillating arms bare, his glistening, pale lavender lids were shut, though of course he didn't sleep. A perfect statue, carved in some unknown stone, smooth like marble, glittering like crystal. I can't wait for the homies to get here. I'm so excited. Alright, thank you.
Twilight doesn't threaten their masculinity.
Hell no. Now and then, his lips would move so fast it looked like they were trembling. But when I asked, he told me he was singing to himself. It was too low for me to hear. I enjoyed the sun too, though the air wasn't quite dry enough for my taste. I would have liked to lie back as he did and let the sun warm my face, but I stayed curled up, my chin resting on my knees, unwilling to take my eyes off him. The wind was gentle. It tangled my hair and ruffled the grass that swayed around his motionless form. The meadow, so spectacular to me at first, paled next to his magnificence. Hesitantly, always afraid, even now, that he would disappear like a mirage, too beautiful to be real. I marveled again at the perfect texture, satin smooth, cool as stone. When I looked up again, his eyes were open, watching me. Butterscotch today, lighter, warmer after hunting. His quick smile turned up the corners of his flawless lips. I don't scare you? He asked playfully, but I could hear the real curiosity in his voice. No more than usual. He smiled wider. His teeth flashed in the sun. I inched closer, stretched out my whole hand now to trace the contours of his forearm with my fingertips. I saw that my fingers trembled and knew it wouldn't escape his notice. Do you mind? I asked, for he had closed his eyes again. No, he said, without opening his eyes. You can't imagine how that feels, he sighed. I lightly trailed my hand over the perfect muscles of his arm, followed by the faint pattern of bluish veins inside the crease at his elbow. With my other hand, I reached to turn his hand over, realizing what I wished. He flipped his palm up in one of those blindingly fast, disconcerting moments of his. It startled me. My fingers froze on his arm for a brief second. Sorry, he murmured. I looked up in time to see his golden eyes close again. It's too easy to be myself with you. I lifted his hand, turning it this way and that as I watched the sun glitter on his palm. I held it closer to my face, trying to see the hidden facets in his skin. Tell me what you're thinking, he whispered. I looked to see his eyes watching me, suddenly intent. It's still so strange for me, not knowing. You know, the rest of us feel that way all the time. It's a hard life. Did I imagine a hint of regret in his tone? But you didn't tell me. I was wishing I could know what you were thinking. I hesitated. And I was wishing that I could believe that you were real. And I was wishing that I wasn't afraid. I don't want you to be afraid. His voice was just a soft murmur. I heard what he couldn't truthfully say, that I didn't need to be afraid, that there was nothing to fear. Well, that's not exactly the fear I meant, but that's certainly something to think about. So quickly that I missed his movement, he was half sitting, propped up on his right arm, his left palm still in my hands. His angel's face was only a few inches from mine. I might have, should have, flinched away from his unexpected closeness, but I was unable to move. His golden eyes mesmerized me. What are you afraid of, then? He whispered intently, but I couldn't answer. As I had just that once before, I smelled his cool breath in my face, sweet, delicious, the scent that made my mouth water. It was unlike anything else. Instinctively, unthinkingly, I leaned closer, inhaling. And he was gone. His hand ripped from mine. In the time it took my eyes to focus, he was 20 feet away, standing at the edge of the small meadow in the deep shade of a huge fir tree. He stared at me, his eyes dark in the shadows, his expression unreadable. I could feel the hurt and shock on my face, My empty hands stung. I'm sorry, Edward, I whispered. I knew he could hear. Give me a moment, he called, just loud enough for my less sensitive ears. I sat very still. After 10 incredibly long seconds, he walked back, slowly for him. I stopped, still several feet away, and sank gracefully to the ground, crossing his legs. His eyes never left mine. He took 2 deep breaths and then smiled in apology. I am so very sorry. He hesitated. Would you understand what I meant if I said I was only human? I nodded once, not quite able to smile at his joke. Adrenaline pulsed through my veins as the realization of danger slowly sank in. He could smell that from where he sat. His smile turned mocking. Thank you for the love from Pakistan. May your wishes come true as well. I will say this word, Mr. Martini, I will say this word if you donate to me. I will say whatever you want for a price. I'm the world's best predator, aren't I? Everything about me invites you in. My voice, my face, even my smell. As if I need any of that. Unexpectedly, he was on his feet, bounding away, instantly out of sight, only to appear beneath the same tree as before, having circled the meadow in half a second. As if you could outrun me, he laughed bitterly. He reached up with one hand, and with a deafening crack, effortlessly ripped a 2-foot-thick branch from the trunk of the spruce. He balanced it in that hand for a moment, and then threw it with blinding speed, shattering it against another huge tree, which shook and trembled at the blow. And he was in front of me again, standing 2 feet away, still as a stone. As if you could fight me off, he said gently. I sat without moving, more frightened of him than I had ever been. I had never seen him so completely freed of that carefully cultivated facade. He'd never been less human or more beautiful. Face ashen, eyes wide. I sat like a bird locked in the eyes of a snake. His lovely eyes seemed to glow with rash excitement. Then, as the seconds passed, they dimmed. His expression slowly folded into a mask of ancient sadness. Don't be afraid, he murmured, his velvet voice unintentionally seductive. I promise, he hesitated. I swear not to hurt you. He seemed more concerned with convincing himself than me. Don't be afraid, he whispered again, as he stepped closer with exaggerated slowness. He sat sinuously with deliberately unhurried movements till our faces were on the same level, just a foot apart. Please forgive me, he said formally. I can control myself. You caught me off guard, but I'm on my best behavior now. He waited, but I still couldn't speak. I'm not thirsty today. Honestly, he winked. At that I had to laugh, though the sound was shaky and breathless. "Are you all right?" he asked, tenderly, reaching out slowly, carefully, to place his marble hand back in mine. I looked at his smooth, cold hand and then at his eyes. They were soft, repentant. I looked back at his hand and then deliberately returned to tracing the lines in his hand with my fingertip. I looked up and smiled timidly. His answering smile was dazzling. "So where were we before I behaved so rudely?" he asked in the gentle cadences of an earlier century. "I honestly can't remember." He smiled, but his face was ashamed. "I think we were talking about why you were afraid, besides the obvious reason." "Oh, right. Well." I looked down at his hand and doodled aimlessly across his smooth, iridescent palm. The seconds ticked by. "How easily frustrated I am," he sighed. I looked into his eyes, abruptly grasping that this was every bit as new to him as it was to me. As many years of unfathomable experiences he had, this was hard for him too. I took courage from that thought. I was afraid because, for, well, obvious reasons, I can't stay with you. And I'm afraid that I'd like to stay with you much more than I should. I looked at his hands as I spoke. It was difficult for me to say this aloud. "Yes," he agreed slowly. "That is something to be afraid of indeed. Wanting to be with me, that's really not in your best interest." I frowned. "I should have left long ago," he sighed. "I should leave now, but I don't know if I can." "I don't want you to leave," I mumbled pathetically, staring down again. "Which is exactly why I should. But don't worry, I'm essentially a selfish creature. I crave your company too much to do what I should. I crave your company too much to do what I should. I'm glad. Don't be." He withdrew his hand, more gently this time. His voice was harsher than usual. Harsh for him, still, more beautiful than any human voice. It was hard to keep up. His sudden mood changes left me always a step behind, dazed. "It's not only your company I crave. Never forget that. Never forget that I am more dangerous to you than I am to anyone else." He stopped and I looked to see him gazing unseeingly into the forest. I thought for a moment. "I don't think I understand exactly what you mean, but the last part anyway," I said. "Hello, Sergio. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the stream. Enjoy some Twilight." He looked back at me and smiled, his mood shifting again. "How do I explain?" he mused. "And without frightening you again. Without seeming to think about it, he placed his hand back in mine. I held it tightly in both of mine. He looked at our hands. "That's amazingly pleasant. The warmth," he sighed. A moment passed as he assembled his thoughts. "You know how everyone enjoys different flavors," he began. "Some people love chocolate ice cream, others prefer strawberry." I nodded. "Sorry about the food analogy, I couldn't think of another way to explain." I smiled. He smiled ruefully back. "You see, Every person smells different, has a different essence. If you locked an alcoholic in a room full of stale beer, he'll gladly drink it. But he could resist if he wished to, if he were a recovering alcoholic. Now let's say you placed in that room a glass of 100-year-old brandy, the rarest, finest cognac, and fill the room with its warm aroma. How do you think you would fare then? We sat silently, looking into each other's eyes, trying to read each other's thoughts. He broke the silence first. Maybe that's not the right comparison. Maybe it would be too easy to turn down the brandy. Perhaps I should have made our alcoholic a heroin addict instead. So, what you're saying is, I'm your brand of heroin? I teased, trying to lighten the mood. Hi, Kyle. Oh, you liked me to read some Princess Bride? Princess Bride is more funny than Twilight.
Is it?
I've never read it, I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. He smiled swiftly, seeming to appreciate my effort. Yes, you are exactly my brand of heroin. Does that happen often? I asked. He looked across the treetops, thinking through his response. I spoke to my brothers about it. He still stared into the distance. To Jasper, every one of you is much the same. He's the most recent to join our family. It's a struggle for him to abstain at all. He hasn't had time to grow sensitive to the differences in smell and flavor. He glanced swiftly at me, his expression apologetic. Sorry, he said. I don't mind. Please don't worry about offending me or frightening me or whatever. That's the way you think. I can understand, or I could try to at least. Just explain however you can. Interesting. He took a deep breath and gazed at the sky. So Jasper wasn't sure if he'd ever come across someone who was... He hesitated, looking for the right word. Appealing, as you are to me. Which makes me think not. Emmett has been on the wagon longer, so to speak, and he understood what I meant. He says twice for him, once stronger than the other. And for you, never. The word hung there for a moment in the warm breeze. What did Emmett do? I asked, to break the silence. It was the wrong question to ask. His face grew dark, his hand clenched into a fist inside mine. He looked away. I waited. He wasn't going to answer. I guess I know, I finally said. He lifted his eyes. His expression was wistful, pleading. Even the strongest of us fall off the wagon, don't we? What are you asking? My permission? My voice was sharper than I'd intended. I tried to make my tone kinder. I could guess what his honesty must cost him. I mean, is there no hope then? How calmly I could discuss my own death. No. he was instantly contrite. Of course there's hope. I mean, of course I won't. He left the sentence hanging. His eyes burned into mine. It's different for us, Emmett. These are strangers he happened across. It was a long time ago when he wasn't as practiced, as careful as he is now. He fell silent and watched me intently as I thought it through. So if we'd met in a dark alley or something, I trailed off. It took everything I had not to jump up in the middle of that class full of children, and he stopped abruptly, looking away. When you walked past me, I could have ruined everything Carlisle has built for us right then and there if I hadn't been denying my thirst for the last, well, too many years. I wouldn't have been able to stop myself. He paused, scowling at the trees. He glanced at me grimly, both of us remembering. He must have thought I was possessed. I couldn't understand why. How could you hate me so quickly? To me, it was like you were some kind of demon, someone straight from my own personal hell to ruin me. I am a cat. That is all I have to say in response to that. I most certainly am a cat.
Yeah, I got rid of that guy, but
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know either. The fragrance coming off your skin. I thought it would make me deranged the first day. In that 1 hour, I thought of 100 different ways to lure you from the room with me, to get you alone. And I fought them each back, thinking of my family, what I could do to them. I had to run out to get away before I could speak the words that would make you follow. He looked up then at my staggered expression as I tried to absorb his bitter memories. His golden eyes scorched from under his lashes, hypnotic and deadly. You would have come, he promised. I tried to speak calmly, without a doubt. He frowned down at my hands, releasing me from the force of his stare. And then, as I tried to rearrange my schedule in a pointless attempt to avoid you, you were there, in that close, warm little room. The scent was maddening. I so very nearly took you then. There was only one other frail human there, so easily dealt with. I shivered in the warm sun, seeing my memories anew through his eyes, only now grasping the danger. Poor Mrs. Cope. I shivered again at how close I'd come to being inadvertently responsible for her death. But I resisted. I don't know how. I forced myself not to wait for you, not to follow you from the school. It was easier outside when I couldn't smell you anymore, to think clearly, to make the right decision. I left the others near home. I was too ashamed to tell them how weak I was. They only knew something was very wrong. And then I went straight to Carlisle, at the hospital, to tell him I was leaving. I stared in surprise. I traded cars with him. He had a full tank of gas and I didn't want to stop. I didn't dare to go home, to face Esme. She wouldn't have let me go without a scene. She would have tried to convince me that it wasn't necessary. By the next morning, I was in Alaska. He sounded ashamed, as if admitting a great cowardice. I spent 2 days there with some old acquaintances, but I was homesick. I hated knowing I'd upset Esme and the rest of them, my adopted family.
In the pure air of the mountains, it was hard to believe you were so irresistible. I convinced myself it was weak to run away. I had dealt with temptation before, not of this magnitude, not even close. But I was strong. Who were you? An insignificant little girl? He grinned suddenly. To chase me from the place I wanted to be. So I came back. He stared off into space. I couldn't speak. I took precautions, hunting, feeding more than usual before seeing you again. I was sure that I was strong enough to treat you like any other human. I was arrogant about it. It was unquestionably a complication that I couldn't simply read your thoughts to know what your reaction was to me. I wasn't used to having to go to such circuitous measures, listening to your words and Jessica's mind. Her mind isn't very original, and it was annoying to have to stoop to that. And then I couldn't know if you really meant what you were saying. It was all extremely irritating. He frowned at the memory. I wanted you to forget my behavior that first day, if possible. So I tried to talk with you like I would with any person. I was eager, actually, hoping to decipher some of your thoughts. But you were too interesting. I found myself caught up in your expressions, and every now and then you would stir the air with your hand or your hair, and the scent would stun me again. Of course, then you were nearly crushed to death in front of my eyes. Later, I thought of a perfectly good excuse for why I had acted at the moment. Because if I hadn't saved you, if your blood had been spilled there in front of me, I don't think I could have stopped myself from exposing us for what we are. But I only thought of that excuse later. At the time, all I could think was, not her. He closed his eyes, lost in his agonized confession. I listened, more eager than rational. Common sense told me I should be terrified. Instead, I was relieved to finally understand, and I was filled with compassion for his suffering, even now, as he confessed his craving to take my life. I finally was able to speak, though my voice was faint. In the hospital, his eyes flashed up to mine. I was appalled. I couldn't believe I had put us in danger after all, put myself in your power, you of all people. As if I needed another motive to kill you. We both flinched as that word slipped out. But it has the opposite effect. He continued quickly. I fought with Rosalie, Emmett, and Jasper when they suggested that now was the time. The worst fight we've ever had. Carlisle sided with me and Alice. He grimaced when he said her name. Couldn't imagine why. Esme told me to do whatever I had to do in order to stay. He shook his head indulgently. All that next day I eavesdropped on the minds of everyone you spoke to, shocked that you kept your word. I didn't understand you at all, but I knew that I couldn't become more involved with you. I did my very best to stay as far from you as possible, and every day, the perfume of your skin, your breath, your hair, it hit me as hard as the very first day. He met my eyes again, and they were surprisingly tender. And for all that, he continued, I'd had fared better if I had to expose us all at that first moment, than if now, here, with no witnesses and nothing to stop me, I were to hurt you. I was human enough to have to ask, why? Isabella. He pronounced my full name carefully, then playfully ruffled my hair with his free hand. A shock ran through my body at his casual touch. Bella, I couldn't live with myself if I ever hurt you. You don't know how it's tortured me. He looked down, ashamed again. The thought of you, still, white, cold. To never see you blush scarlet again. To never see that flash of intuition in your eyes when you see through my pretenses. It would be so unendurable. He lifted his glorious, agonized eyes to mine. You are the most important thing to me now. The most important thing to me. Ever. My head was spinning at the rapid change in direction our conversation had taken from the cheerful topic of my impending demise. We were suddenly declaring ourselves. He waited, and even though I looked down to study our hands between us, I knew his golden eyes were on me. You already know how I feel. Of course, I finally said, I'm here, which roughly translated means I would rather die than stay away from you. I frowned. I'm an idiot. You are an idiot, he agreed, with a laugh. Our eyes met, and I laughed too. We laughed together at the idiocy and sheer impossibility of such a moment. And so the lion fell in love with the lamb, he murmured. I looked away, hiding my eyes, as I thrilled to the word. What a stupid lamb, I sighed. What a sick, masochistic lion. He stared into the shadowy forest for a long moment, and I wondered where his thoughts had taken him. Why? I began, and then paused, not sure how to continue. He looked at me and smiled, sunlight glinted off his face, his teeth. Yes? Tell me why you ran from me before. His smile faded. You know why. No, I mean, exactly. What did I do wrong? I'll have to be on my guard, you see, so I better start learning what I shouldn't do. This, for example. I stroked the back of his hand. Seems to be all right. He smiled again. You didn't do anything wrong, Bella. It was my fault. But I want to help, if I can, to not make this harder for you. Well, he contemplated for a moment. It was just how close you were. Most humans instinctively shy away from us, are repelled by our alienness. I wasn't expecting you to come so close, and the smell of your throat. He stopped short, looking to see if he'd upset me. Okay then, I said flippantly, trying to alleviate the suddenly tense atmosphere. I tucked my chin, no throat exposure. It worked. He laughed. No, really. It was more a surprise than anything else. He raised his free hand and placed it gently on the side of my neck. I sat very still, the chill of his touch, natural warning. A warning telling me to be terrified. But there was no feeling of fear in me. There were, however, other feelings. You see, he said, perfectly fine. My blood was racing and I wished I could slow it, sensing that this must make everything so much more difficult. The thudding of my pulse in my veins. Surely he could hear it. The blush on your cheeks is lovely, he murmured. he gently freed his other hand. My hands fell limply into my lap. Softly, he brushed my cheek, then held my face between his marble hands. "Be very still," he whispered, as if I wasn't already frozen. Slowly, never moving his eyes from mine, he leaned towards me, then abruptly, but very gently, he rested his cold cheek against the hollow at the base of my throat. I was quite unable to move, even if I had wanted to. I listened to the sound of his even breathing, watching the sun and wind play in his bronze hair, more human than any other part of him. With deliberate slowness, his hands slid down the sides of my neck. I shivered. Then I heard him catch his breath. But his hands didn't pause as he softly moved to my shoulders. And then he stopped. His face drifted to the side, his nose skimming across my collarbone. He came to rest, the side of his face pressed tenderly against my chest. Listening to my heart. "Ah," he sighed. I don't know how long we sat without moving. It could have been hours. Eventually, the throb of my pulse quieted, but he didn't move or speak again as he held me. I knew at any moment it could be too much, and my life could end so quickly that I might not even notice. And I couldn't make myself be afraid. I couldn't think of anything except that he was touching me. And then, too soon, he released me. His eyes were peaceful. "It won't be so hard again," he said with satisfaction. "Was that hard for you?" "Not nearly as bad as I imagined it would be." "And you?" "No, it wasn't bad. For me." He smiled at my inflection. "You know what I mean." I smiled. "Here." He took my hand and placed it against his cheek. "Do you feel how warm it is?" And it was almost warm, his usually icy skin. But I barely noticed, for I was touching his face, something I dreamed of constantly since the first day I'd seen him. "Don't move," I whispered. No one could be still like Edward. He closed his eyes and became as immobile as stone, a carving under my hand. I moved even more slowly than he had, careful not to make one unexpected move. I caressed his cheek, delicately stroked his eyelid, the purple shadow in the hollow under his eye. I traced the shape of his perfect nose and then, so carefully, his flawless lips. His lips parted under my hand, and I could feel his cool breath on my fingertips. I wanted to lean in to inhale the scent of him, so I dropped my hand and leaned away, not wanting to push him too far. He opened his eyes. They were hungry, not in a way to make me fear, but rather to tighten the muscles in the pit of my stomach and send my pulse hammering through my veins again. "I wish," he whispered, "I wish you could feel the complexity, the confusion I feel. You could understand." He raised his hand to my hair, then carefully brushed it across my face. "Tell me," I breathed. "I don't think I can. I've told you, on the one hand, the hunger, the thirst, the deplorable creature that I am. I feel for you, and I think you you can understand that to an extent. Though, he has smiled. As you are not addicted to any illegal substances, you probably can't empathize completely. But his fingers touched my lips lightly, making me shiver again. There are other hungers. Hungers I don't even understand, that are foreign to me. I may understand that better than you think. I'm not used to feeling so human. Is it always like this? For me? I paused. No, never. Never before this. He held my hand between his. They felt so feeble in his iron strength. I don't know how to be close to you, he admitted. I don't know if I can. I leaned forward, very slowly, cautioning him with my eyes. I placed my cheek against his stone chest. I could hear his breath and nothing else. This is enough, I sighed, closing my eyes. In a very human gesture, he put his arms around me and pressed his face against my hair. You're better at this than you give yourself credit for, I noted. I have human instincts. They may be buried deep, but they're there. We sat like that for another immeasurable moment. I wondered if he could be as unwilling to move as I was. But I could see the light was fading, the shadows of the forest beginning to touch us, and I sighed. You have to go. I thought you couldn't read my mind. I think I'll read one more page, and then we can have a break. Okay. It's getting clearer. I could hear a smile in his voice. He took my shoulders and I looked into his face. Can I show you something? He asked, sudden excitement flaring in his eyes. Show me what? I'll show you how I travel in the forest. He saw my expression. Don't worry, you'll be very safe, and we'll get to your truck much faster. His mouth twitched up into that crooked smile so beautiful my heart nearly stopped. Will you turn into a bat? I asked wearily. He laughed. Louder than I'd ever heard. Like I haven't heard that one before. Right, I'm sure you get that all the time. Come on, little coward, climb on my back. I waited to see if he was kidding, but apparently he meant it. He smiled as he read my hesitation and reached for me. My heart reacted, even though he couldn't hear my thoughts. My pulse always gave me away. He then proceeded to sling me onto his back with very little effort on my part. Besides, when in place, clamping my legs and arms so tightly around him that it would choke a normal person. It was like clinging to a stone. I'm a bit heavier than your average backpack, I warned. He snorted. I could almost hear his eyes rolling. I'd never seen him in such high spirits before. He startled me, suddenly grabbing my hand, pressing my palm to his face, and inhaling deeply. Easier all the time, he muttered. And then he was running. That's the end of that page. Break time.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. Just do something already.
Do something? That doesn't happen till like the 5th book.
What? Oh my god.
I don't know what you want them to do.
Something. It's
Just
like,
do something.
It's like 50 pages of feeling.
That's the point.
I know. I understand.
Everybody, intermission. Intermission. I'm gonna eat some treats now.
I'm learning so much.
Are you?
This, yeah.
Apparently there's 6 books.
6, wow.
Oh, well there's like 4. So
In the end, she chooses someone, right? So,
yeah, she does.
yeah.
She definitely does choose someone.
Mm-hmm.
There is another love interest, actually.
I know.
Oh, do you?
I know that much. Because, like, team something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a lot to live up to. Man,
Okay. Can I have my
yeah,
strawberries?
let's get your strawberries. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, that was your neck.
Oh my gosh. Ow.
Very nice and chilly now.
Strawberry time. Thank you.
Can I have one?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. You can absolutely have one.
These look pretty tasty, actually. Thank you.
So, in case anyone is listening, I wanted to get some V-Day treats, and they sent the Postmates driver dropped off the entirely wrong order. They dropped me off like chicken wings and fries. I'm like, that is not
So romantic.
I know, so romantic. So I was able to get a refund and put my order in again, and they surprised me with 4
You can't hear me munching
extra strawberries.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a dark one.
Just try it.
Strawberries.
It's a nice sound.
Oh my god, it's so good.
It's good, yeah. So worth it.
Yes, so good.
You had it delivered all the way from Beverly Hills, right? That's
It's actually really good.
yeah.
And I also got chocolate pretzels. But I want another strawberry. Do you want another one, Ryan?
If you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. These are for us.
It is good.
Yeah.
Okay, let me. This is the awkward part of this. These headphones. They different?
Yeah, there's dark and milk chocolate.
I'll try the.
You had one of these.
Okay, I'll try the dark ones.
Okay. And these are the beautiful chocolates that I sent myself.
It's okay. You have a date tomorrow.
I do. Honestly, these are so good, but the dark ones are better. I'm gonna pretend that you mean it, okay? So inspirational. Thank you. Thank you, legend.
Look at so inspirational.
How inspirational am I? Tell me more.
I would say an 8.
An 8? An 8 out of 10?
Yes. 8.5.
Wow, thank you. No, I dropped a piece of chocolate.
You saved Andrew Yang's career. Remember that.
I don't think I did that.
You had a part in it.
I did. I had a part. I did have a part.
You did. Everybody should be like you exactly like.
This making me want to eat chocolate. You better.
It's so good.
Get yourself some Valentine chocolate and make yourself feel good. Trust. Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow.
Actually, I can't see that.
I know. Yeah, it came up on the screen I saw. But it doesn't show up in the chat.
Yeah. Do some things.
Yes. So far, I've bought myself the chocolate-covered strawberries, chocolate-covered pretzels, and I also have a box of chocolates on the way. Who knows what I will treat myself to next. Oh, I also bought myself new jewelry.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, so this the designer that I like, the same one that Mac had gotten me the pieces from.
Yep.
She did a new drop. She had some new pieces, and she made like earrings and the ring that match a necklace that I already have. So I decided to complete the collection and treat myself for Valentine's Day. And she was having a Valentine's sale, so fuck it. Would you like a pretzel?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
That was actually perfect. I don't know. I do like strawberries.
You can have another one if you want.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have orange.
Orange?
You hate those.
Ew. Oh my god, these treats are actually so good. I'm glad I bought them.
Let me see if I can do what you do.
I don't know if I hear it in my ear.
Oh, wait. Oh.
It's not even on, huh?
It's not even on. Wait, this thing turns itself off after a while.
Oh, maybe the battery's low. Legend, I would totally share these with you if I could. They're yummy. Oh, there we go. Now I hear it.
Yeah, I think I need to get a more permanent solution for this. Yep, you should be able to hear
Who's
me
mic?
now.
Okay, yeah, Ryan's mic,
Good.
right?
Yep.
seriously so good. I think it's with the dark chocolate. How are you, Mr. Legend? How's life? I hope everyone's been staying hydrated and getting lots of good sleep. I slept really well last night, surprisingly.
Oh yeah.
I got like 7 hours or so, but my sleep score was like an 86, which is pretty good.
I mean, do you actually feel better when your score is better?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if I feel better until I see it. But like once I see the score, I'm
Okay,
like,
yeah, that
I
was
feel
good.
great today. Yeah.
Hey, whatever works. Yeah, I could have slept better, I think, today. Well,
Yeah.
had a big lunch and then I took a nap. I just got up ready for this. So, how much more pages are there?
Days?
Page. How many more?
In the chapter or the book?
The chapter. It's I have an idea how long.
Oh, 3, 2.5.
Oh, that's it? Oh,
Uh-huh.
we're almost done then.
I know. Well, then we'll read the next chapter.
No, okay. Okay, got it.
I mean, obviously we won't read the whole.
Well,
Excuse me.
whoa, I was expecting, oh no.
Then we'll read we'll read the next chapter. We won't finish it. We're not going to get through it, but
Yeah, okay.
we'll read some of it.
You gotta buckle down. Gotta buckle down. Dude, this is serious business.
It's not that serious.
No, but her feelings. The book talks a lot about smell. I thought that was interesting.
It's because he's a vampire.
Right.
And she has like a distinct smell that.
Yeah, but it comes up over and over, so.
Because she just smells like so yummy to him.
I know.
And he wants to eat her, and that's why it's like so romantic. Because like he wants to eat her so bad, but also he loves her.
I know.
And like
so complicated.
So complicated. He has to resist his primal urges.
Yeah, I wonder what's that mean.
And then they can't have sex because he's so strong that if he does, he'll break every bone in her body. No lie.
Like literally.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, should I just give away the story? It doesn't even happen in this book.
This is your show.
Okay. So they consummate on their wedding night, and the only way that she'll survive it is if he turns her into a vampire.
Oh.
So while they're doing it, he bites her. And she turns into a vampire, and then she gets preggers.
And they live happily ever after.
And then the baby is like half mortal, half vampire.
Yeah, so
Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. I don't think she turns into a vampire until she's giving birth, because the baby is like half vampire, so the baby is like developing at a rapid rate and is gonna kill her during birth. So then they have to turn her. Yeah, then they have to turn her into a vampire so that she can survive the birth of her child.
Got it.
I was wrong. Sorry. Yeah, no. On their wedding night, I guess he does it super gentle, and she gets pregnant immediately.
Okay, got it.
I think they do it in the water.
Wait. Okay.
I just want to keep eating these freaking pretzels.
Now that I understand the story.
No, your music has been really good.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like I really liked like whatever was happening when we were first starting.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds really alike to the atmosphere in the movie.
I know, I'm trying. I'm trying.
It actually has a pretty decent soundtrack.
Yeah, well, yeah, I believe that.
So I recommend.
I'm a professional, okay?
I know.
I don't understand.
Where even did I leave off? Okay.
Okay, I'm almost done eating my popsicle.
Yeah, you can take your time, not an issue. You eat that popsicle.
Yeah, turn my mic. It turned itself off.
I think it must be dying.
I'm gonna bite the bullet and just buy that thing.
Yeah.
Don't want, technical stuff getting in the way.
Bing.
Bing.
Bing bing. Bing bing. Bing bing.
Sorry.
No. Don't say so. I'm sorry.
No, I thought we had a. I thought we were doing a thing.
What? Saying sorry back and forth?
No, ding ding.
Ding ding.
So this is the dude that she marries eventually?
Edward? Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a triangle at one point.
I know. I have to do it. No, I won't ruin it.
But okay, so there's a triangle at one point, but then the guy that she's in a triangle with is a werewolf.
Right.
And so the vampires and the werewolves are like rivals.
Yeah.
And then so then she gets pregnant by Edward, and then it turns out that Jacob, the guy that was also in love with her, he imprints on her baby. So he has like an animalistic bond.
He has an animalistic bond to her baby.
Wait, he imprints? That's fucked up. You shouldn't be doing that to your other people's kids.
He can't control it. He can't, literally
You should
can't
be in
control
jail.
it. Exactly. Yes, he imprints before the baby's even born. So as soon as the fetus like starts developing, he's already imprinted.
That
Yes,
sounds illegal.
it is.
Wow.
And then I think it's implied that like once the baby grows up, she'll be with Jacob, like in love.
That's even more fucked up.
Exactly. Like so as a baby, like as a child, she's growing up, and like he watches over her like as a brother figure, and then like as she matures, it turns into
It's getting a little creepy.
It is creepy. It's totally creepy.
Well, whatever.
It's
That's
100 p creepy.
okay.
But it wills. Okay.
Oh well. I need more caffeine, probably.
Caffeine.
Okay.
Okay, you get your caffeine.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't sleep very well last night.
Oh, I know.
Not for any particular reason. It just happens.
I know. Whoa, that sounds so weird.
See, that's like something guys like.
Such a refreshing sound.
Especially if this was a beer. But
Cracking open a cold one with
today's Twilight.
Joelle. Okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get into it. If I'd ever feared death before in his presence, it was nothing compared to how I felt now. He streaked through the dark, thick underbrush of the forest like a bullet, like a ghost. There was no sound, no evidence that his feet touched the earth. His breathing never changed, never indicated any effort. But the trees flew by at deadly speeds, always missing us by inches. I was too terrified to close my eyes, though the cool forest air whipped against my face and burned them. I felt as if I were stupidly sticking my head out the window of an airplane in flight. And for the first time in my life, I felt the dizzy faintness of motion sickness. Then it was over. We'd hiked hours this morning to reach Edwards Meadow, and now, in a matter of minutes, we were back to the truck. Exhilarating, isn't it? His voice was high, excited. He stood motionless, waiting for me to climb down. I tried, but my muscles wouldn't respond. My arms and legs stayed locked around him while my head spun uncomfortably. "Bella?" he asked, anxious now. "I think I need to lie down," I gasped. "Oh, sorry." He waited for me, but I still couldn't move. "I think I need help," I admitted. He laughed quietly and gently unloosened my stranglehold on his neck. There was no resisting the iron strength of his hands. Then he pulled me around to face him, cradling me in his arms like a small child. He held me for a moment and
carefully placed me on the springy ferns. "How do you feel?" he asked. I couldn't be sure how I felt when my head was spinning so crazily. "Dizzy, I think. Put your head down between your knees." Tried that, and it helped a little. I breathed in and out, slowly, keeping my head very still. I felt him sitting beside me. The moments passed, and eventually I found that I could raise my head. There was a hollow ringing sound in my ears. "I guess that wasn't the best idea," he mused. I tried to be positive, but my voice was weak. No, it was very interesting. "You're white as a ghost." "No, you're as white as me." I think I should have closed my eyes. "Remember that next time." "Next time," I groaned. He laughed. His mood still radiant. "Show off," I muttered. "Open your eyes, Bella." He said it quietly. And he was right there, his face so close to mine. His beauty stunned my mind. It was too much. An excess I couldn't grow accustomed to. I was thinking, while I was running, he paused. "About not hitting the trees, I hope." "Silly Bella," he chuckled. "Running is second nature to me. It's not something I have to think about." "Show off," I muttered again. He smiled. "No," he continued. "I was thinking, there's something I wanted to try." And he took my face in his hands again. I couldn't breathe. He hesitated. Not in a normal way, the human way. Not the way a man might hesitate before he kissed a woman, to gauge her reaction, to see how he would be received. Perhaps he would hesitate to prolong the moment, that ideal moment of anticipation, sometimes better than the kiss itself. Edward hesitated to test himself, to see if this was safe, to make sure he was still in control of his need. Then his cold, marble lips pressed very softly against mine. What neither of us was prepared for was my response. Blood boiled under my skin, burned in my lips. My breath came in a wild gasp. My fingers knotted in his hair, clutching him to me. My lips parted as I breathed in his heady scent. Immediately I felt him turn to unresponsive stone beneath my lips. His hands gently but with irresistible force pushed my face back. I opened my eyes and saw his guarded expression. "Oops," I breathed. That's an understatement. His eyes were wild, his jaw clenched in acute restraint, yet he didn't lapse from his perfect articulation. He held my face just inches from his. He dazzled my eyes. Should I tried to disengage myself, to give him some room. His hands refused to let me move so much as an inch. "No, it's tolerable. Wait for a moment, please." His voice was polite, controlled. I kept my eyes on his, watched as the excitement in them faded, gentled. Then he smiled a surprisingly impish grin. "There," he said, obviously pleased with himself. "Tolerable?" I asked. He laughed aloud. "I'm stronger than I thought. It's nice to know. I wish I could say the same. I'm sorry. You are only human, after all. Thanks so much, I said, my voice acerbic. He was on his feet in one of his lithe, almost invisibly quick movements. He held out his hand to me, an unexpected gesture. I was so used to our standard of careful, long contact. I took his icy hand, needing the support more than I thought. My balance had not yet returned. Are you still faint from the run? Or was it my kissing expertise? How light-hearted, how human he seemed. As he laughed now, his seraphic face untroubled. He was a different Edward than the one I had known, and all I felt all the more bestowed by him. It would cause me physical pain to be separated from him now. I can't be sure. I'm still woozy. I managed to respond. I think it's some of both, though. Maybe you should let me drive. Are you insane? I protested. I can drive much better than you on your best day, he teased. You have much lower reflexes. I'm sure that's true, but I don't think my nerves or my truck could take it. Some trust, please, Bella. My hand was in my pocket, curled tightly around the key. I pursed my lips, deliberated, then shook my head with a tight grin. Nope, not a chance. He raised his eyebrows in disbelief. I started to step around him, heading for the driver's side. He might have let me pass if I hadn't wobbled slightly. Then again, he might not have. His arm created an inescapable snare around my waist. Bella, I've already expended a great deal of personal effort at this point to keep you alive. I'm not about to let you behind the wheel of a vehicle when you can't even walk straight. Besides, friends don't let friends drive drunk, he quoted with a chuckle. I could smell the unbearably sweet fragrance coming off his chest. Drunk? I objected. You're intoxicated by my very presence. He was grinning, that playful smirk again. I can't argue with that, I sighed. There was no way around it. I couldn't resist him in anything. I held the key high and dropped it, watching his hands flash like lightning to catch it soundlessly. Take it easy. My truck is a senior citizen. Very sensible, he approved. Are you not affected at all? I asked. Irked by my presence? Again, his mobile features transformed. His expression became soft, warm. He didn't answer at first. He simply bent his face to mine and brushed his lips slowly along my jaw, from my ear to my chin, back and forth. I trembled. Regardless, he murmured, I have better reflexes. And that is the end of chapter 13. Hello, Lynx. Welcome to my channel.
Yeah, I think it's still working.
What, the mic?
Yeah, I think I figured out. Love is so complicated. Oh my god.
Love is so complicated, especially when you're a white girl from Phoenix and a vampire.
And a vampire. Wait, she's from Phoenix? So.
Yeah, she's in Phoenix, but she moved to Forks, Washington.
Poor thing.
Poor thing. I think I kind of want to take a bubble wrap break.
Okay. Yeah. This is kind of intense.
You think so?
I won't lie.
What about it is intense? The
Just
story?
It's just like just raw feelings, like constantly, all the time, and then I'm trying to bring that out, and it is tiring.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you can do a little.
Yeah,
you can do a little bubble wrap break.
Yeah.
If there's anyone.
I'll play some music though.
Okay. If there's anyone in the chat who has any requests for triggers, let me know. Thank you for the follow. Oh, who was that? Thank you so much for the follow. I'm sorry I didn't see what user it was. Thank you for the follow. Twilight. So we're taking a little break right now. If there's any sounds that you're interested in hearing, any specific triggers, just let me know, okay? I also have some chocolate strawberries and chocolate covered pretzels. For anyone that likes mouth sounds or tooth sounds, all that.
somewhere now.
Oh yeah, sounds great.
Like the bubble wrap and
Oh, and all that.
yeah, it was working really well.
Do you want me to do it again?
No, do whatever you want.
Okay. What was that? Did I do that?
Nope, it was me, sorry.
Oh.
The tape fell off, I think.
Hmm.
Here's the taping sound.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah, I hear it. I feel it. Ooh.
Rub it a bit. Oh man, let's put another layer. You can hear it.
Hmm. Get out.
Get out of my brain. But that's your whole thing.
I know.
It doesn't feel good when someone else does it to you, does it? That last 15 minutes was very nice.
Jojo, did you happen to catch any of our Twilight reading?
Is he a fan?
Are you, I don't know, are you a fan of Twilight, Jojo?
Okay, be honest.
Have you read this marvelous text? This piece of history? The cultural phenomena?
Answer the question. Do you like Twilight?
You need to give him a minute to answer. Take your time, Jojo. No rush. I'm glad you got home safe from wherever you were.
You're in New Jersey, right?
That's correct.
Still there.
Oh, with the lady?
Ooh,
You have a lady? Since when? I'm single in case you didn't know. I no longer am a lady or have a lady. But I do. What?
No, just the way you said that.
But I do have a date tomorrow night.
Yeah. You know, JoJo is pretty good with the ladies.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Are you actually, Jojo? Are you a ladies'
I mean,
man?
I gotta be modest, but I just hear stories all the time about, this lady that, this lady this.
One time, I got into a car accident, and like the man called me a lady. Like he was like on the phone with his insurance company, and he's like, "This lady hit us," and I'm like, "This lady."
But are you used to people calling you girl?
Yeah. I was like, "Damn, how old do I look?" This lady.
He was being polite, maybe. I don't know.
What?
Depends on the context. Excuse me, sometimes you do unladylike behaviors in the channel, and I'm like, hey,
Me?
yeah, you're like,
Little old me?
yesterday you burped right on
Oh,
screen.
come on.
And then
I couldn't control it.
that's no excuse. So that's our dynamic, isn't it? It's like, hey, you're being very unladylike, Joelle.
I'm trying to be more
And
feminine.
then you're like, fuck you. And then I'm like, haha, that's great. Keep it up. That's basically that's our shtick.
I honestly am trying to be more feminine.
Really?
But yeah,
Oh.
but I was still, have my quirks or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, like more like in appearance.
Oh.
Like it's like I'm buying jewelry. Finally got my nails done again.
Okay. As long as it makes you happy.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I try to not burp and do that kind of thing. Like
I think it's hilarious.
I really try not to. I know some people who don't care about that kind of thing and just like let them fly.
Yeah.
I honestly get shocked when I hear people like burping freely. Serious. I'm like, what the fucking hell?
Oh, so you're a little bit self-conscious about it.
I don't know.
Not too much.
I don't know if it's that I'm self-conscious.
It is a little, even when guys do it, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
I guess I have like this image or something of like what a proper adult is supposed to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I do make an effort to carry myself in a way that is like with grace. Like I don't know how to.
No, I understand. Well, I can ask my mom to give you the old book from the 1940s on proper etiquette for women.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Really?
Yeah, I'm honestly into the idea of that. Like, obviously, I don't abide by like all the social rules or whatever, but it does intrigue me. And like when I envision myself as like the best version of myself, is like a person who does know proper etiquette and like social whatever, like social standards. I don't know how to explain it.
No. Yeah, I understand.
It's like
classical music is full of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that, and yeah, I like the image of like a classy, modest woman.
I see. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Burping is a sign of being comfortable around someone. Yeah, so it's
you're
farting.
welcome. All right, take it as a compliment.
Just do yourself.
Hello there. Who's that? Skywalker? Who is Skywalker? X21? Welcome. We're literally wrapping things up right now.
Yeah, we're talking about farts and burps.
Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by.
Oh, I had a great idea for ASMR.
What is it?
Just to make it the grossest.
No.
Not you. I'm not saying you should do it. But
Oh, it's someone.
someone like so disgusting. You know, just be like 2 hours.
Well, that's kind of what like those pimple popper, like the Dr. Pimple Popper show. I feel like that is a form of.
Yeah, that's an untapped market. Okay.
I don't like that kind of stuff.
No, I'm not suggesting you should do it,
But alright. Thank you everybody who stopped by today. I appreciate you. I hope you all have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Saturday evenings. And a happy Valentine's Day. Whether you have a romantic partner or not, make sure you love yourself and treat yourself. Okay?
I might do that tomorrow.
Yes. But yeah, love you guys. Love you guys. Does it look like a heart? If you got, I always have fun things to talk about, Jojo. Don't you even tempt me. Yeah, let's do a podcast. What about next week? Can we do a collab next week or the week after? On one of my regular streaming days, maybe. That'd be fun.
Does JoJo do a podcast? Okay.
Well, he streams. He does like a talk show podcast thing for Twitch sometimes. I don't know when's the last time, but
yeah, you gotta do more collabs.
yeah. I have tons of fun things to talk about. Tell me what you need. I will drop that tea. But yeah, good night. I love you. Say it back. Say it back.
Hurry up. Good night, Joelle. He did not say love you.
What it was.